Girls' Hell, Murder by Relays, by Yumeno Kyusaku. The first letter. Mrs. Chieko Yamashita, at Minato Bus Company, from Tomiko Tomonari. Thank you for your letter. I understand why you want to be a bus girl. Life as a farmer is boring. You can't look at the blue sky and clouds just a sigh. It would be even worse if you were absent-mindedly watching the red, blue, and white streaked train go towards Tokyo. If you don't spend your days letting your sweat and tears fall into the dirt, your parents and siblings would look at you as if you betrayed the other peasants. You are born of dirt, wear dirt-covered rags, and you just go back into the dirt as a pitch, black, ugly, dirty-covered old woman. And you're right, and I feel pity for you. But you have to abandon that idea. I don't know about other jobs, but I really don't want you to be a bus girl. It's even more boring than being a farmer, and a much more horrible and disgusting job. The fate of a bus girl is even cheaper than the pieces of paper that litter in the streets. Try being one, and soon you'll see why. When you're a farmer's daughter, your parents will choose you a guy from among other innocent young men of the village, and if you're lucky enough, you will be with someone you love. But when you become a bus girl, you have to give up such happiness from the start. No matter how unpleasant the requests are, if you don't listen meekly to what the executives, directors, and car attendants say, you'll be fired immediately. You'll be kicked out of the company for all sorts of reasons. This is even more true for an orphaned woman like me. That's why smart women try to avoid wearing makeup and work in the shadows to keep a low profile, knowing that they won't get paid too much. It's that ridiculous suffocating feeling, and it's not all about that. As you know, I'm an orphan with no parents or siblings, so I could have become a waitress, or a telephone operator, or anything else. But I thought being a bus girl was brave and stylish, so I became one as a kind of training. I achieved my goal of becoming a driver and making money, but beyond that, there's nothing for me. I have no parents to be filial to, no younger brothers to cherish. It's dull. Every day, in a world with no purpose or enjoyment, is like being blown by a piercing wind or burned by a sun full of trash, running around with my life on the line. Every time a drunk customer makes a pass at me, a scary policeman holds my hand, or a pretentious driver pokes me, I feel lonely, sad, and bored to the depths of my soul. It's a job that makes you wish something would happen when you speed up and hit something, making everything go to pieces. I'm sorry. I'm telling you the truth because I care about you, so please don't get angry. That's not all there is to it. There is something even more terrifying. Read the letter from Tsuyako Tsukikawa that I've included. I copied the exact words. This letter is very important to me. It could be the key evidence in a dreadful murder case, so I can't just give it to you. You'll understand when you read it. Tsuyako Tsukikawa was my elementary school classmate. She works as a bus girl conductor at the Benkyo Bus Company in Hamamatsu with her father, just like me. She's 19 this year. She's small, but very lively. Unlike me, she's kind and timid. She's been my good friend since a long time ago. She's also much better at writing. Letter from Tsuyako Tsukikawa. Dear Tomiko Tomonari, it's been a while. How have you been? I'm sorry to suddenly write something strange, but lately I feel like someone is trying to kill me. Recently, a new driver named Nitaka joined our Benkyo Bus Company. He's tall, has a cold face that resembles Napoleon, and is an excellent driver. He's hardworking and has quickly moved up the ranks. About 3 months ago after he joined, he proposed to my father to marry me. This was about 2 weeks ago. My father, who works at the company's factory, wasn't keen on the idea, but the managing director, who favors Nitaka, intervened, so my father couldn't refuse. When he asked me what I thought, I agreed immediately because I didn't dislike Nitaka. I'm sorry for not consulting you before agreeing. But I was surprised at first. I wonder why Nitaka would want to marry someone like me. Nitaka seems to be a very quiet person. Even when he comes to the waiting room, he never says sweet things to the female conductors or gives them strange looks like the other drivers. He just sits quietly smoking a cigarette. Yet, sometimes, he suddenly picks up a mischievous child from a passenger and makes them laugh by rubbing their cheek, or he buys a lot of the most expensive mandarins for about yen and silently distributes them to us before walking out. He's a very unpredictable person. He also drives at a frightening speed while singing in a clear, cheerful voice. Oh, I'll never fall in love again with a driver like you. You hit and run and act as if nothing happened. And he makes all the passengers laugh. But you never hear him talking about going out for fun. He always has money jiggling in his pockets, which is why the company executives seem to trust him completely. I also thought he was a firm, manly person and did everything he asked. We were about to have our official wedding ceremony. Then, today, out of the blue, I received a letter from a friend, Minako Matsura, in Tokyo. It was shocking. Be careful if a driver named Tatsuo Nitaka joins your company. He is the most handsome and most notorious driver in Tokyo, and the one with the most horrible reputation. Nitaka has seduced many bus girls at our bus and entered into common law marriages with them. When he gets tired of them, he kills them one by one and disposes of their bodies somewhere, but he does it so cleverly that he has never once been suspected. This is only known among bus girls. Recently, the police have started watching Nitaka more closely, so he quietly left our bus and went somewhere else. It's rumored he went to a rural bus company, so if he comes to your company, be extremely careful. I might be worrying him too much, but I thought I should tell you. That's the gist of the letter. I was so shocked. But being straightforward, I showed this letter to Nitaka instead of my father. Since I had already established a relationship with him, it felt natural to do so. Nitaka read the letter with a pale face, crumpled it up, and threw it into the brazier to burn it. You're stupid. If you tell anyone about this, I won't forgive you. He licked his lips and glared at me with a terrifying look. His face looked so frightening, like a skull emerging from under the skin. I had never seen such a scary face in a play or a movie. I was so scared that I couldn't ask whether what Mineko wrote was true or false. I just cried when I looked at Nitaka's face. He then smiled and patted my shoulder. I'm not going to kill you. Who would take a letter like this seriously? You're stupid. He gently patted my back. At that moment, I couldn't help but feel like he might kill me, but I also felt like it would be okay if Nitaka killed me, so I kept quiet. I don't plan to tell anyone about this, not even my father, but I'm writing to you, Tomiko. Please don't forget about me. Even if Nitaka and I have a happy home, don't laugh at us. Please wholeheartedly bless us. Goodbye. From Tsuyako at Benkyobashi in Hamamatsu. This was the last letter I received from Tsuyako. Chieko, do you understand now? Tsuyako, who wrote this letter, died within a week. Her funeral was held in Hakata. According to her father, who brought up back her remains, she was standing on the left step of a new Ford bus substitute with Nitaka when the bus was full of passengers. A truck approaching with its lights still caused Nitaka to suddenly swerve to the left, and Tsuyako's body hit a utility pole. Her left shoulder, arm, and ribs were shattered. A passenger said there was a loud crash. Tsuyako's father said, "It was Tsuyako's bad luck. It was my fault for letting her do such a job." Nitaka noted the truck's number, but even if we sued, it wouldn't matter. There's no one to blame. She was just one insignificant girl, worth less than a bug in this vast world. Still, she saved the passengers' lives, so I've given up. The company gave me an extra 10 yen in addition to her monthly salary. The passengers who were saved didn't even care. It's cheap. If it had been someone else, they'd pay around 300 yen. It doesn't even cover the funeral expenses. I guess that's how little they think of young people in such dangerous jobs. It's terrifying. I offered a lot of yellow roses to her spirit. After hearing this, I really came to hate being a bus girl. I envied you, Chieko, helping your parents in the fields where the skylark sings. Do you understand now? Do you understand how horrible, lonely, and frightening it is to be a bus girl? Please, don't become a bus girl. Goodbye. Take care of yourself. The second letter. Dear Chieko, it's terrible. The driver Nitaka, whom I wrote about in my last letter, has come. He's come to work at the Minato bus company where we are, and he proposed to me. Now it's my turn to be killed. But don't worry about me. I'm strong. I won't be killed so easily. Nitaka says he came here because things weren't doing well at the bus company in Tokyo, so he took a leave of absence and came here. He's already lying. But he is definitely the Nitaka driver who killed Tsuyako. He has a cold, manly face like Napoleon, and he works silently and diligently. He's very good at making fenders out of the old tubes and wires. At the same time, he whimsically gives us good bananas and hands out fish or horses cut out of tubes to the customers' babies. Everyone pampers him, calling him Nitaka-san, Nitaka-san, but I got a chill when I realized who he was. So I've been watching him closely, thinking he must be Tsuyako's murderer, and I thought he had come to kill someone else. Then, it seems Nitaka misunderstood my watching him. While waiting for the last bus from Hakata to Oryo at 11 o'clock in the waiting room, with no passengers around, he saw a good chance. He came in holding yellow rose and put it in my hand. I was startled because the rose was Tsuyako's favorite flower. When I thanked him with a full heart, he suddenly said, Tomiko, come to my boarding house in Oryo tonight. With a cold, serious face, not the look of a man seducing a woman, but a heroic, manly look. At that moment, I made up my mind. I cheerfully said, yes, I'll go. But it was quite suffocating. Chieko, don't be surprised. I've completely fallen for Nitaka. This is truly a life-risking love. And along with that, I somehow want to revenge Tsuyako's death. I thought it would be great to capture Nitaka, make him apologize, and then either make him commit suicide or something else. Writing out like this, it seems contradictory, doesn't it? But at that time, my feelings weren't contradictory at all. I had never felt my heart so full of hope as I did then. My empty heart was filled with a big, vibrant happiness. I joyfully went to Nitaka's boarding house, and I did everything he said. I wasn't scared at all. Nitaka was completely deceived and lost himself in the moment. Yes, I may be reckless, but that's okay. Just wait and see if my adventure will succeed or not. Thinking about it makes my heart race. My life is now so full of tension that it feels like I might burst. No matter what anyone says, I will continue this adventure. Goodbye. The third letter. Dear Chieko, women are weak, aren't we? I've been completely conquered by Nitaka-san. The adventurous spirit I wrote about in my last letter seemed to have weakened over time. It seems Nitaka enjoys showering me with affection every day. He talks about the household matters, and even about babies that haven't been born yet. I remain silent during these times, but I can see a long, grey path of cohabitation with Nitaka stretching out before me, devoid of hope. It feels like I'm returning to the ordinary heart of Tomiko, as if I'm just becoming a wife and nothing more. There have been countless times when I've considered burning the letters from Tsuyako that I had hidden so carefully. I no longer have even a trace of the desire to kill Nitaka. You may laugh at me, Chieko, and I wouldn't blame you. What on earth has happened to me? Will my life end up being this mundane and uneventful? Where did that overwhelming hope I felt at the beginning when I first got together with Nitaka disappear to? I never intended to marry with such thoughts. Am I to continue rolling around like a flat tire, aimlessly and infinitely? I can't help but notice the flashy merino cloth hanging in the shop. I keep thinking about what would be best for the baby's clothes. Please, go ahead and laugh. Maybe this is what life is all about. The fourth letter. Chieko-san, something terrible has happened. I'm writing to you just like Tsuyako did before she died. I think I'm going to be killed soon. Nitaka seems to have found Tsuyako's letter in my basket. He hasn't said a word about it, but there's a distant coldness in him now. Strangely enough, his affection for me has only intensified. We're happy, he'd suddenly say these days, which was suspicious. It makes me think there must be a reason behind it. It's only been a week since we got together. But that's not all. Something happened yesterday. It was on the way to Oreo at 9 p.m. bus. At Minato bus, we used a 1932 Chevrolet convertible as bus substitute. Since the Chevrolet was full, I stood up on the step while Nitaka was driving. I realized something and quietly moved to the back of the car, standing on the deck meant for luggage, just after we passed the Hakozaki crossing. It was around 9 p.m. It was raining and pitch dark. Suddenly, as we were passing through the narrow roads of Tatara village, Nitaka, who had accelerated the bus, swerved sharply to the left, barely missing a utility pole. If I had stayed on the left front step, I would have been thrown off and smashed against it. I was terrified. I understood clearly then that Nitaka had sent Tsuyako's letter. It was so clear that it made my hair stand on the end. Later, on the white descent at Matsuzaki, he sped up like a bullet. Pretending to avoid an oncoming bicycle, he swerved left again, dangerously close to a pine tree. At that moment, I was sure Nitaka was trying to kill me. But because I didn't react, he seemed puzzled. As we approached to the Kashi crossing, he called out from the driver's seat, "Hey, Tomi-chan." "Yes?" I replied cheerfully as I could from the back. "You fool. Come up front and watch the train. The 10 o'clock train should be coming soon," he said, slowing down. I cheerfully answered again and ran to the front, raising my hands to signal. "Train, all clear." It's a dangerous spot, especially after 8 p.m., when there's no crossing guard. Trucks unfamiliar with the area haven't hit there a few times. Nitaka knew the train schedule well and would usually speed through if I signaled it was clear. But this time, he deliberately slowed down and called me up, which I found odd. When 3 passengers got off at Kashi, I, soaked to the skin, sat next to Nitaka at the driver's seat. He said nothing except, "Were you cold?" in a low voice. We arrived at Oreo in less than an hour, watched the car in silence, and went home without exchanging a word, though it felt like we were glaring at each other. Nitaka is usually silent, but this time it was different. When it was time to sleep, perhaps because of the alcohol, he suddenly started cracking jokes. He mimicked various actors and acted out of love scenes from different social classes, from beggars to generals. It was so good and entertaining that I couldn't help but laugh. However, this morning, it all feels empty. Human emotions are strange. As I take a day off work, watching the rain through the stormy weather, the roofs of the houses opposite, the polar trees swaying in the distance, and the black smoke from the passing trains, it all feels like my fate. I feel an overwhelming loneliness that I can shake off. Listening to the rain battering the tin roof below, tears fill my eyes, making me feel incredibly miserable and empty. I can only pour out my sorrow to you, Chieko-san. I don't know what to do, even though I know something must be done. I just burned Tsuyako's letter, her terrifying letter. I took the day off to burn it. Everything is fate. There is nothing left but to leave it to fate. There is no God in this world. Chieko-san, please cry for miserable Tomiko. The 5th letter. Chieko-san, thank you. I heard you come to visit me while I was unconscious. Thank you for the beautiful flowers. They are all still blooming by my side. I am grateful. I didn't know anything for a whole week after that. They say I was groaning in pain because of high fever. The bones in my head were fractured, and the infection caused a fever. They had to remove the stitches, clean the wound, and sew it up again. I don't quite understand how I survived, but now that I can get up and sit by myself, I've started to remember things bit by bit. It was shortly after I wrote you the last time. As usual, Nitaka and I were driving the Chevrolet from Hakata to Oreo. It was just before 10:30 p.m., and it was a terrible stormy night with no passengers. It was the night of the 20th or 21st day. Just before reaching the crossing, I saw the long legs of the uptrain approaching rapidly from between the pines and the farmers' houses on the left. But I calmly called out, "Train all clear, throwing out." I don't know why I told such a terrible lie. I can't understand my feelings at that moment, but in the dark rain and wind, feeling utterly depressed, I might have thought it would be better to die with Nitaka. The train was a special service from Kumamoto or Kagoshima, packed with people going to Manchuria. The up train had just passed at 10 o'clock, and Nitaka, only cautious of the down train at 11 p.m., believed what I said. He sped up, cut sharply to the right along the national road, and the rear deck of the car got caught by a train's lifeguard, flipping the car upside down and landing in the bottom of the embankment. They say Nitaka died because a thick piece of glass pierced his side, and medical help didn't arrive in time. The rear train conductor, Mr. Kakogawa, ran up and held him from behind. Nitaka barely opened his eyes and, in a strained voice, said, "Damn it, I even had Tsuyako's revenge. Damn, Tsuyako, Tsuyako, Tsuyako," and then died. Kakogawa-san came to visit me and told me this. When I heard the story, I couldn't help but smile. Warmth spread through my body, filling me with an incredible sense of vitality. Nitaka died knowing that I had avenged Tsuyako. Thinking about it made me cry. Kakogawa-san and the nurse, unaware of the truth, sympathized deeply and comforted me, but it didn't help. I was grateful to God and cried out of joy, but they kept saying it was bad for my health to be sad. That's when I realized you should rarely comfort a woman. You never know why she's crying. According to the conductor and nurse, I was found under the wrecked body, hiding my face firmly with my hands, and curled up tightly, which impressed everyone. I must have done so before the collision. Yesterday, there was a clinical inquiry. 5 or 6 stern-looking people, probably from the police or court, surrounded my bed and asked various questions. It was quite frightening. When I said I had shouted "stop" loudly, but Nitaka ignored me and dropped through the crossing, everyone nodded. They seemed to know Nitaka's usual driving style and discussed the need for an automatic signal at the Kashi crossing. When a bearded man asked if it was true that I had a common law relationship with Nitaka, I said yes. I don't think my face even blushed. They all looked at each other and laughed. Then, a dark-skinned, skeletal-looking man, about 40 and seemingly a detective, rolled his sunken eyes and said, maybe it was a lover's suicide pact, showing his white teeth in a grin, which startled me. But I shook my head stubbornly, and soon they all left. Detectives can be surprisingly smart. Remembering that detective's face still makes me nervous. I thank God, even though I recklessly said all clear, intending to die together, God only killed Nitaka and spared me. Once my head injury heals, I'll return to Minato Bus and work as a conductress. This time, I'll never quit and become a driver, the best female driver in Japan. I believe it's God's command. I'll never marry. I already understand everything about a woman's life. As long as Nitaka doesn't come back to life, I have no need for any other man. Nitaka's story was all over the newspapers. The headline was, "Horrible Lady Killer's Murder Relay." It turned out that after leaving Aobus in Tokyo, he had been a wanted suspect in a series of women's murders. He had previously survived on a head-on collision with a truck in Tokyo, where the female assistant died instantly, but he was inexplicably unharmed. His explanation at that time had saved him from any charges. The newspaper speculated that he might have planned to drive into the train with his common law conductress, intending to jump out and survive himself. You probably read about it too. It's all lies. The newspaper and the police made it up. They sympathize too much with me. Even the company seems very sympathetic about my situation. It's strange. But I'm fine. That's how the world works. Only God's judgment is true. So, Chieko-san, I'll tell you the truth. No matter what happens, don't become a bus girl. Don't become a woman like me. The 6th letter. Chieko-san, I'm writing you my final letter. After sending this letter, I'm going to go somewhere and take my own life. I don't want anyone to see my body, so please don't look for me. I've sent you a package with photos of Nitaka and me, my clothes, bank books, stamps, household items, and other belongings. Please distribute them to the needy. You can even donate them to an elementary school. There should be enough to buy a small organ. That dark-skinned skeletal detective's words turned out to be true. I understand now. I wanted to experience lover's suicide with Nitaka, and if possible, I wanted to be the one who survived, and that's exactly what happened. So the truth is, I killed my husband, but Nitaka died thinking he was taken by Tsuyako's vengeful spirit. He probably never suspected it was my doing. Nitaka must have truly loved me. Realizing this, I can't stand it any longer. And there's more. I found out recently that I'm carrying Nitaka's baby. Whenever I think of Nitaka, I feel it move in my lower abdomen. What should I do when this child is born? I will kill this child, cursed along with me. I am both a wife killer and child murderer. I confess this only to you, and I beg your forgiveness. It's the final plea of a wretched Tomiko. Don't become a bus girl. Goodbye.